Hi everyone, this is Garrison from Iron Kingdoms at War, and if you saw one of my past videos recently, you saw me put this bunker together, which is made out of styrofoam and foam core and some pieces of wood and a little bit of sand and grit for texture, and some other little bits like modeling putty for the sandbags. Anyway, I want to do a painting tutorial. Now, for this tutorial, I'm not going to have you watch me do every little stage, just watch me actually paint it. I want to talk about this thing as I paint it up, and then I'll stop and show you what I'm doing. So first of all, we want to start with base coating all of the different elements of this bunker. So as far as base coating, any metal parts like the door, which as you recall if you saw the making of videos know slides in, any metal parts like the door, I did a base coat of black. That includes the door, it includes these firing port metal plates and rivets around these window areas. And also metal would be any of the kind of venting pieces added to the roof. So that's a base coat of black for all the metal bits. For all the actual bunker bits, the concrete bunker, I did a very dark gray, a mixture of dark and black craft paint, and I did a dark gray, and that'll look more like stonework when we highlight it with some lighter grays. For all of the dirt, which includes the earthen mound and also the inside of the bunker and the trenchway, that is all with a very dark brown base coat. And then the wooden trench supports for the entryway on the side as well, that's all also the same dark brown. When I was base coating, I was doing it swiftly, so I also did the sandbags in a dark brown originally, but then I went over them with a tan color. We are going to wash them with a brown ink later to make the details in the sandbag show up a little bit better. So that's why I went ahead and added a base coat of tan to those. So this is basically base coated and ready to go for the next stage. And the next stage of the video, I'll talk about some of the highlighting of these different areas and how to go about that. So I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so I'm back having done the second stage of painting for this thing, and the second stage of painting, just to go over it with you, was I did a lighter brown highlighting or dry brushing on the dirt mound area. So don't know how well that's going to show up. And some of these kind of creases is where the highlighting naturally might show up a little bit more, so hopefully you can see that. On the concrete bunker, I did a light gray dry brushing over the dark gray base coat that we did. As far as anything metal on this, I did a second base coat over the black of a pig iron. All right, so and that was directly the pig iron paint color from Privateer Press. All right, so I did a pig iron color on those, and remember that your metal bits also include your door. So that's done in the pig iron, and also the other bits, like such as the metal bits on the roof. Okay, the other things I did in the second stage was I did as well as that light brown highlighting on the earthen mound, I did it on the trenchwork wooden framing. Okay, inside that's going to be hard to see. And I wanted to mention finally, before going on to the next stage, the last piece of this second stage was that I made a took some brown ink. Excuse me. I took some brown ink and watered it down pretty significantly, and I went over the sandbags. So hopefully, what you can see with the sandbags is, although this is going to need some refining. Let me zoom out just a little bit. You can see some of the creases and details, like the stitching that we carved into the sandbags. That's starting to pop. That's starting to show up. Okay, and then these need to be lightened up now, because as you can see, they're got a little bit dark in the inking or washing procedure. So now we need to go in there and lighten those up in the next stage, and you'll see what that looks like in just a second. So that's stage 2 of painting this bunker. Okay, so did the second stage of highlighting on this bunker. It's coming along nicely. It doesn't look like its final form yet, but it's getting there. So I'll describe the steps that I did here in the third stage of painting this, or the second stage of highlighting, if you will. First thing I did was I took a light gray and I highlighted all the concrete parts of this bunker. All right, so that it would begin to take its final kind of color that I wanted it to have around the edges of the bunker. The other highlighting I did was, my second highlighting I did was, took a tan paint and I went over the dirt or mound or embankment around the bunker, okay, and gave it a very nice highlighting or shading. That's going to be my final highlighting for this area, because now we're going to flock this with some static grass and give it a really good look. The tan also, I went ahead and highlighted right over the sandbags and right into the area of the wood to give it a more natural look. So the tan basically highlighting went all over all this outside area. The dirt mound, the sandbags, because they were a little dark from the inking. If you if you remember and recollect, these were too dark after the inking, so I did the tan highlighting on them as well as the walls, as well as the dirt, and now they look more of a sandbag color. Although I'm going to highlight them even a little bit more in the last stage. And of course, we need to talk about the metalwork. I took a armor wash, which is an ink or a wash from Privateer Press's line of paints. And I did all the metals so that now, hopefully you can see, it's got more of a, let me get zoomed in there a little bit, it's got more of a, the rivets are popping a little bit more, the metal looks a little more weathered. Okay, here's the inside of the door too, so it looks a little better. Not done with the metals yet. This is still a little shiny. This is still a little shiny from where I'm standing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of rust effect to this in the next stage. Alright, so I'm going to add some rust to this and take that sheen off that metal a little bit, because I want this to look like a worn piece of, fortification, not something that's right off the assembly line. Alright, so that's the idea. So same thing with the roof. I did the light gray highlighting on the stonework there, and the metal got that same armor wash, which is more or less a black wash. From Privateer Press's line of paints. Alright, so that's what the bunker looks like now. We're going to go on to pretty much the final stage here in just a second. Okay, so here we see the completed bunker, and the last steps were basically I took one last highlight to this roof, which was a white highlight around the edges, not on the roof, not just on the roof, but also on the edges of the bunker, just to give it a little bit more effect. I also went for a little bit of a lighter tan over the sandbags, and of course there's the flocking of the static grass around the structure as well. As far as the metals, to tone it down a little bit, I added a little rust. The rust was actually really simple. The rust was a combination of a brown ink from Privateer Press, which actually has a little bit of a red to it, and then also a little brown wash mixed with that another brown wash by Reaper Minis, mixed in with that brown wash by Privateer Press, made a really nice little rust color. In fact, you can see on the door, if I can get in there, a little bit more of that effect. And also, oh, there's some soldiers in there, also on the rivets. Alright, so just to show you, this is a pretty functional terrain piece. I can fit my whole squadron of long gunners on here, my whole unit of long gunners, along with their attachments. So that's kind of why I added this trench work entryway to the bunker, as I wanted the whole piece to really accommodate and give cover to a whole unit of men. So that's about it, and I hope you enjoyed this making of and painting of the bunker, and I hope you like the finished result. So this is Garrison for Iron Kingdoms at War, signing off. Happy wargaming, everybody.